The most important thing any sound recordist wants to do is to record good, clear audio. This was especially important for me because some of the audio was to be used for the score. Obviously, I ensured that all of the audio I recorded was of a good standard because what use is a film with awful sound? This therefore meant that to get this good audio, I had to sort of stand in some awkward positions like buried deep in the undergrowth or crouched behind some object where my movement was limited. And I used boom ups as well when possible so that I could check on the recording on the mixer and not have to worry about the mic moving from the good position that it needs to be in. Obviously there were some things that couldn't be avoided, like wind interference on the cliff top and it rustling the leaves when we were in some slightly wooded areas, and the seagulls when we were shooting in the harbour in the morning as they were just waking up. Music is one of the key themes in our film, therefore the soundtrack needs to be very fitting and not too over the top to really represent what we're trying to show with it in the actual film. Originally, in the pre-production stage, I took a lot of inspiration from This Is England, a film which uses very minimal soundtrack, but what is used is very effective and really helps to continue telling the story more. However, once we got a script, it was clear that the music in my film needed to take a much stronger approach and not take the step back which it does in This Is England. When I first sort of looked through the script, I began to sort of break it down into the most important sounds that it would need to record and then where I think would be appropriate to score it. As you can see, I went through and really picked out every sound that there was, and then I went through and decided, right, what's important, what needs to be done on location, what could be added in later, and what is part of the soundtrack. As I want the key audio aspect of this film to be the score and the soundtrack, I aim to keep my sort of ambient sound and any other sort of additional sound effects subtle, but as realistic as possible so that they don't stand out and draw any attention away from the score. Obviously, there were some issues with trying to do this particularly with the scenes that are sort of done by the sea or on the cliff tops when there was a lot of wind interference, which has been quite distracting, but fortunately I have been able to strip that out in places and then being able to re-record new ambient sound in place, which is much more subtle, as I wanted. Sort of in particular, this was what I really wanted to do with the scenes that would be scored to ensure that the focus stays on the score and where that's leading the film rather than what the ambient sound is doing or what that seagull's doing in the background or what's that tree doing. For my overall aim of generating rhythm and an emotional response within the audience through the use of the soundtrack, I feel like I didn't hit it as well as I would have liked to. I feel like this is mostly due to because the composer dropped out with a few days before the deadline. This then meant that I had to find something last minute for the score, meaning that I wouldn't have enough time to really sort of dig deep into things and find something that truly fits in the way that I want it to, or even giving me enough time to find another composer that is more suited to Sky Music work that would be able to create something for us. In regards to looking to the future, I have learnt that you can never be too well prepared. Had I perhaps found some examples of score that I thought might be suitable for this film earlier on during the research stages, it might have been easier to find something when the composer dropped out last minute. With this film, I have also learned that ADR is quite a difficult thing to do actually, as it's not just the case of recording the dialogue. You've got to make sure you've got little bits of Foley sound, from breathing to footsteps to clothes rustling to a chair creaking, you know, all these little things that add up to create a very, very realistic sounding soundscape.